Good afternoon. The November 7th, 2025 meeting of the Medford Site Plan Architectural Commission will now come to order. Amanda, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Ms. Pierce.
Here.
Mr. Bender.
Here.
Mr. Camiller. Mr. Neathammer.
Present.
Mr. Akery.
Here.
Ms. Powell.
Present.
Mr. Thomas.
Here.
And Mr. Whitlock.
Here.
We have 6.
Very good. We have a quorum. Our first item is item 20, which is our consent calendar, and there's nothing to go over for that. Item 30 are the minutes from October 17th, 2025. Are there any additions or corrections to be noted? Seeing none, those will be accepted as submitted. Item 40 is oral requests and communications from the audience. This is an opportunity for members of the audience to address the commission on matters that are not on today's agenda. If you wish to speak, please come forward to the podium, sign in, and tell us your name and your concern. Is there anyone here that's for items not on today's agenda? Okay, I didn't think so, but I thought I'd check. Item 50 is public hearings. If you plan to testify, please listen carefully to the following prepared statement regarding the procedural rules that govern such a hearing. Statement will be read by Mr. Schambach, Senior Assistant City Attorney.
Good afternoon. I'm going to explain the rules that govern this hearing. Before the hearing begins, city staff will give a report. The report will list the criteria that govern the city's decision. After the staff report, the hearing will be open for other speakers. The applicant will speak first and may ask for rebuttal time. Following the applicant, any other interested person will be allowed to speak. Before the hearing is closed, anyone who needs more time to present evidence must ask for more time. If you ask, the hearing will be continued or the record will be kept open, and you will have at least 7 days to present additional written evidence. Any testimony, argument, or evidence you give must relate to the criteria listed in the staff report or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or land use regulations that you believe apply to the decision. If you fail to raise an issue or do not give the commission sufficient information so that the commission and any party can respond, you will not be able to appeal that issue to the Land Use Board of Appeals. If you do not raise constitutional or other issues about any proposed condition with specificity so that the commission can respond to that issue, you will not be able to bring a court action for damages.
Thank you, Mr. Schambach. In order to proceed through today's agenda in a timely manner, except at the commission's request, applicants giving testimony will be given 10 minutes to present their application. Individuals having comments about these applications will be given 3 or 5 minutes. If representing a group or organization, and 5 minutes will be given to the applicant for rebuttal. Ms. Aiken, I understand you're going to explain procedures for today.
I am. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Kelly Aiken with your Planning Department. So on today's agenda, we have 3 applications that are really for a single development. So we thought it would be simplest to take testimony for all 3 applications at one time. So we'll give one staff presentation and then we'll open a public hearing for all 3 projects. So whoever's going to testify, feel free to give your testimony to either a specific application or just generally for the project as a whole. As usual, the applicant will go first, and then we'll ask and invite anybody else that wants to testify to come down and do so. At the end of all the testimony, we'll ask the commission to make a motion on each item separately. And for everybody here, we're going to ask that this item be continued to the next meeting. I think you're going to hear a lot of testimony today. We have some new exhibits for the record, so we want to make sure that the commission and everybody involved has the opportunity to review those items. So are there any questions on that piece?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you. Should I go ahead and read the items?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so I'll introduce the 3 items. So item 50.1 is AC 25-190, consideration of plans for the construction of 13 multifamily structures on approximately 12.5 acres. The development is called Hyatt Park Phase 1A, located south of Coal Mine Road and east of North Phoenix Road within the Community Commercial Zoning District. The applicant is Ramsey Fakuri. Item 50.2, AC 25-191, consideration of plans for the construction of 13 multifamily structures on approximately 12.09 acres. The development is called Haya Park Phase 1B, located south of Coal Mine Road, approximately 750 feet east of North Phoenix Road, within the multifamily residential 20 to 30 unit dwelling units per gross acre zoning district. The applicant is John Botala. And finally, item 50.3 is E25-324, consideration of an exception request to build a turnaround inside the public right-of-way at the southerly end of Quarter Lane. The exception request is to the cul-de-sac standards in Medford Land Development Code, Section 10.450. The applicant is Dan Horton. Mr. Horton is also the agent for all three of those applications, and our planner today is Stefan Rohnfeld. Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you, Miss Aiken. Do any commissioners have a conflict of interest or ex parte contact or site visits to disclose regarding this application?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I am disclosing a potential conflict of interest regarding items 50.1, 50.2, and 50.3 on today's agenda. My office provided professional services on the adjoining project northerly of the subject project, Horse Arena subdivision. I have a continuing professional development relationship with the developer of Horse Arena on other development projects. I've had conversations with my client and her representative about the potential impacts this project could have on Horse Arena subdivision, in particular Quarter Lane. Therefore, I'm recruiting myself for participating in the decision-making process for agenda items 50.1, 50.2, and 50.3. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitlock?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to report that I did do a site visit recently, and I previously lived in the East Medford area and frequently walked in this area just for enjoyment purposes. So I want to indicate for the record that nothing other than observing the conditions of the area is all the site visit conclusions that I reached.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I also have something to disclose. I, too, personally lived in the neighborhood for 5 years, and my family, several family members currently live in the area, as do my children. I drive by that area many, many times, and so I have conducted site plan visits. I also have fielded comments in person from people that I have not responded to, and comments online that I also have not responded to, but did inform them that they could show up today. I do, however, can render a verdict of unbiasedness.
Thank you. Anyone else? Does anyone in the audience wish to question any commission members on their conflicts of interest or ex parte? All right. Stefan, can we have a staff report, please?
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Stefan with the Planning Department. And like Kelly pointed out, I have prepared one presentation for all three projects. I'll also have some help today from both Mr. McNair and with the Burrows from the Public Works Department, and Tanner is here from the Fire Department, who will help me out with some of the slides too. So starting with the legal requirements for the site plan review, they're found in Chapter 10.200, subsection 5B of our Medford Land Development Code. And they have been addressed in the staff report and summarized here on the screen for you. And then for the exception, those criteria are found in 10.186, subsection 2 of the code. If we look at the approval authority for both the site plan review and the exception, they're both type 3 quasi-judicial decisions, and you as the site plan commission are the approving authority today. If we take a look at the project summary, probably everybody is quite familiar with where this project is located in East Medford, just south of Coal Mine Road and east of North Phoenix Road. The development area itself for the two projects combined is a little over 22 acres. We have mostly vacant site. I believe there used to be a marijuana grow or something was the last known use on one of the properties. There is a shed on there that's the only existing building right now. We're surrounded by the golf course, Centennial on the west side. We've got an orchard on the east side, single-family residential development to the north, and then mostly vacant development or no development on the south. So the general land use plan map designation for the two projects is commercial on the west side, that's the reddish part, and then we have urban high-density residential, that's the orange or the brownish part on the east side. If we look at zoning, so zoning reflects the club map designation. We have CC, community commercial, again on the west side, and then MFR 30, which allows for up to 30 dwelling units per gross acre on the east side. And those two, the project area is the only area out of that urbanization plan that has received zoning so far. So for any future development, mostly to the south, there will have to be a zone change application before the Planning Commission first. So this all started in 2020 when the subject site was annexed into the city. That was Ordinance 2020-123. And it was also part of the urbanization plan, Unit 5E, I believe. So the overall urbanization plan included 74.6 acres. And most of the area within that plan is to the south of what we're looking at today. So as you can see, most of the area on the west side along North Phoenix Road was intended for, or is intended for commercial development. And then everything on the east side is for multifamily residential development. It was pointed out back then that our land development code does allow for multifamily development in the residential zoning district, so that was contemplated even as part of the urbanization plan. Also part of the urbanization plan, there was a minimum density requirement for the entire MD5E area of 420 units. With the proposed units, with what is proposed today, we're already exceeding that maximum or that minimum. There is also a requirement for open space. About 14 acres of the entire urbanization plan are intended for open space. 2.85 acres, and that's mostly within the agricultural buffer zone that I'll talk about later, are intended for open space as part of this development. So whenever the rest to the south develops, they'll have to incorporate a park or more open space. Again, we got zoning. So that was the last step after the urbanization plan. We had a zone change application for the east side in 2022, where the site was zoned from SFR 00, which is a holding zone that gets automatically applied once the parcels come into the city. Just means that nothing, infrastructure and all that hasn't been tested yet. So that happened with the zone change to MFR 30 on the east side, and then on the west side, a year later, we rezoned from SFR 00 to community commercial. So, and I want to point out here at this point probably that at the time of zone change is when the city looks at capacity issues for water, infrastructure, sewer, storm, traffic-related issues. So all that was tested back then. There were some restrictions placed on the property to the east, to the west, that had to do with sewer and traffic impacts. The sewer issues have been resolved. There is sufficient capacity. There's still a trip cap on that property on the east, and I'll talk about that a little later. So I just wanted to point out that at that time, all those major potential issues were addressed and tested for. So this is not part. What we're looking at today are site-specific impacts, mostly related to architectural design and layout. So this is the entire master plan that is for most of the urbanization plan area. We're only looking at this part up here today. Like I pointed out earlier, all this area in red does not have zoning yet and is not part of this application. So we've got phase 1A on the west side. We got phase 1B on the east side. So 1A is application 25-190, 1B is 25,191. And then the exception, I'll talk about that later too in detail, is kind of tied to quarter lane up to the north, at the north end of the proposed B Street. Phase 1A proposes 248 multifamily dwelling units. Phase 1B proposes a little less, 242 dwelling units. If we look at the proposed street layout, so highlighted in green are the existing public right-of-ways. That's Coal Mine Road to the north, North Phoenix Road on the west side. Whatever right-of-way borders the proposed development will have to be improved to current city standards, and Mr. Burrows can talk about that, or Mr. McNair, a little more in detail. There's 4 new public right-of-ways proposed, so that's A, B, and C Street to be renamed later on. Obviously, we already have those streets in town. And then there's a first street that will serve as a east-west connection at the very south. So that's the public right-of-way. So let's go back to the trip cap that I mentioned earlier on the west side. So the reason the trip cap was placed on there by the Planning Commission was that even back then they expected multifamily development to happen on that side. So commercial development will create a lot more vehicular trips than multifamily. So the standards that were based, or the maximums that were placed on this side, equal the traffic expected for MFR 30 standards. So had this been commercial, there wouldn't have been a trip cap, and the expected trips were much higher. So even with this development, the 248 units on the west side, there is still 32 PM peak hour trips available. So it is expected to create 127 PM peak hour trips for this part. And again, Mr. McNair can explain that to you in detail. I'm no traffic expert. So we have 5 two-story units, all placed along the north or the south side of Coal Mine Road. And then we have 21 proposed 3-story units. The architecture through the entire development is pretty much the same for both types of development. We have a density, so with the zoning comes a minimum and maximum density requirement. For the community commercial zoning district, like I explained earlier, it does allow for residential development to the MFR 30 standard. The only difference is that there is no maximum. So a minimum of 216 dwelling units are required for Phase 1A, 248 are proposed. And then for Phase 1B, we are right at the minimum of 242 units that are required. So, and there is a maximum of 363 for the east side. The development standards are a little different for each phases. Again, that has to do with the underlying zoning district. If you look at the tables on the screen here, you can see that all the requirements like height, lot coverage, setback, and so forth have been addressed and are met for each individual zoning district. Parking changed. The requirements changed a couple of years ago now, where it depends on the unit sizes that are proposed, how much parking is required. So quite a few units were below the threshold that didn't require any parking. So staff calculated the required minimum for Phase 1A at 135. There's about 238 are proposed, and that's included in specific parking lots. That's the red arrows on the right side. And then also along the public right-of-ways on street parking, those are the blue arrows. For Phase 1B, we have a minimum requirement for parking of 131 spaces. Proposed are 211. And again, on-street parking in blue, and then red are dedicated parking lots. We did receive a typical landscape plan for a small area of the development, and that is pretty typical for development of that size. That a full landscape plan hasn't been provided at this time. So we added 2 conditions to Exhibit A to the conditions of approval, and then staff will look at the entire landscape plan that includes street frontage landscaping, parking lot landscaping, and then our relatively new standards we have for large parking lot design. So we'll look at that at the time of issuance of building permits and make sure that all the requirements are met for landscaping. Elevations are pretty typical, so I have the 3-story proposal on top, 2-story on the bottom, and there will also be a 2 clubhouses that serve the development and surrounded by open space and playgrounds. So pretty typical multifamily development. I do want to point out that in the spec criteria, there is no requirement for compatibility for residential design or for residential development between the single family, in this case to the north, and the proposed multifamily. We did go over the multifamily design standards that we have in our code, so they're in section 10.715A through 719. What we looked at in there is building orientation and entrances, so making sure that all the entrances faces the streets, the parking in this case. We made sure that the facades weren't too large, so we have a maximum of 150 feet, and also that there's enough windows. There's a minimum requirement of 15% for a facade to be covered by windows. So we looked at that, looked at building articulation and then building materials and all the specifics that are in the code. And staff found that all of those design standards have been met. So I want to talk about the exception. I think that's when I bring Mr. McNair down here. So the applicant proposed 4 options. So maybe I should go back to a site plan real quick. Didn't think that one through. So with the proposed design, B Street, which is the one here in the middle, is right across Coal Mine Road from Quarter Lane, which is a small residential street that only serves 5 units at this point. So the applicant did provide staff with 4 different design options for that intersection, and option B that Mr. McNair will talk about here is the one that did require the exception. So should you select option A with modifications or option C or D, the exception application at this point is moot. It's not required for the 3 other options. So that only comes into play when option B, should you select option B. And we kind of left that open because we did want to hear from the neighbors what they think would work best for that small street and for the circulation in that area. So I'll have Mr. McNair explain the 4 different options now. Bear with me while I put that back up.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Carl McNair with the Public Works Department. Thank you, Stefan, for putting these nice slides together. So the reason I'd like to explain the reason for these 4 options a little bit. It actually stems from the zone change and some of the conditions that were on the zone change to mitigate the intersection of Coal Mine Road and Quarter Lane. So the zone change identified a right-in, right-out median as a requirement at the intersection of Coal Mine Road and North Phoenix Road, which means that anyone coming from the north to this development would need to go turn left at Wanapero Way, come down, and then access the development off of Wanapero or Coal Mine. And it creates an incentive for that traffic to use Quarter Lane as a shortcut. Quarter Lane was built to a residential lane standard, which is intended in our code to only serve a maximum of 8 residential units. It's a narrow street section. It's only 26 feet wide, parking on one side. Typically, they end in a cul-de-sac. This one happens to go through, which creates the issue. And so when we saw traffic, routed down Quarter Lane in the traffic impact analysis, we realized that was a problem with almost with 490 units. Actually, at the time of zone change, it was the potential of the sites was as much as 700, and with all that traffic, obviously not, Coeur d'Alene was not built for that amount of traffic. So at the time of zone change, we said that there was a median needed there to restrict at the intersection of Coal Mine and Quarter to restrict traffic, basically taking that as a shortcut. When the site plan came in and included A Street to the west of Coeur d'Alene, it kind of changed things because even just a right-in, right-out median at Coeur d'Alene and Coal Mine couldn't completely solve the issue because, you know, A Street to the west of Coeur d'Alene would still have that incentive of cut-through traffic. So anyone living west of Coeur d'Alene in the development would potentially still be cutting through. Staff from Public Works, Fire, and Planning all met with the developer's agent and talked through different options of how to solve that. And then the developer's agent put these options together for proposals. So option A would essentially create a one-way northbound on Coeur d'Alene. Technically, that one-way would really be just at the north entrance, and people could use Coeur d'Alene south of there as two-way. So they could, if you wanted to leave to the south and go out Coeur d'Alene to North Phoenix, that would still be allowable if you were living on Coeur d'Alene. But it would prevent people from coming southbound through Coeur d'Alene to the development. It would also include a median. Right-in, right-out median is a condition in the Public Works staff report for this option. Right-in, right-out median at Coeur d'Alene and Coal Mine to prevent traffic leaving the development from going straight through Coeur d'Alene up to Wanapero Way. So really that, along with some signage to make it clear that it's one-way northbound at the intersection with Wanapero Way, really that's the only condition on this option would be that right-in, right-out median at Coeur d'Alene and Coal Mine Road.
Is it possible to maybe ask some questions about these options as we go through them, or would staff and the chair prefer that we wait to hear all four options before we ask questions?
I will leave that to staff and you're okay answering questions as you, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like I'm getting a nod. So
Thank you.
if you want to ask a question on option A.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Carl, I'm confused as to why you need to make Coeur d'Alene one way if you have that median there, which would basically block Coeur d'Alene to the south for any traffic coming from the south.
Good question. So it is because A Street is west of Coeur d'Alene on the south side. So I'm going to pull up the site plan again.
Well, it's basically where that line is right beneath the word coal, right? I mean, just approximately?
Yes, you're correct. So how do I start from this slide? You want this one again? Yeah, this one's, yes. So, yes, thank you. Yeah, A Street is, yes, right under here. So even if there's a right-in, right-out median here, someone could still come down, turn right on Coeur d'Alene, take a right out of Coeur d'Alene, and then come left down onto A Street. So, but the one-way entrance at the north end prevents them from doing that. But for the residents of Coeur d'Alene, it would still be two-way traffic south of that entrance point. It's really just the entry that would be narrowed and made a one-way entrance.
So residents could still use it as a two-way street?
Just south of here. So if you're pulling out of your driveway, you could still go south. But to access the residences, they would still need to go around and come in from the south.
Thank you.
I also have a question. So the blue line, that's a median, correct?
Correct.
That creates the one way in, one way out. So my concern and Gus' question is if you were to go, if you can't go left from there, like you're trying to come out of coal mine and you're obviously can't go left because it's one way in, one way out, correct? You can only go right?
Correct.
My concern is that people are driving up to Wanapero and flipping a bitch, and that is dangerous because it's a one way in, one way out. So where are all these people turning around to go southbound? That is not indicated anywhere in this suggestion.
So if you need to go southbound from the development, you would need to take Wanapero out of the development.
And then they're turning around illegally while there's oncoming traffic, and then they're going southbound, correct?
No, so if say you're coming up A Street, you would need to take a right on Coal Mine, left on Wanapero, and come up here to go southbound. That would be the intended route for southbound traffic.
For 490 units plus that subdivision, they're all taking a 26-foot wide, which is not a fire truck safe road for that many vehicles. They're all going that route to go left southbound. Is that what I'm understanding?
So those roads are not 26 feet wide. So Coal Mine Road will be built out to a standard commercial standard. So full width. Wanapero Way is a collector street, so they'd be going out the collector to this intersection and then turning left.
Okay, and I haven't seen the other three options. Do any of these include a traffic light? Or a
No, it's
roundabout?
not warranted with this development.
Okay,
That
let's
was
keep going.
decided at the time of zone change. All right, moving on to option B. So option B actually turns Quarter Lane into a dead-end street by creating a hammerhead turnaround at the south end of Quarter Lane. And this one is the one that requires the exception because the standard that our code allows for a dead-end street is a cul-de-sac. That a cul-de-sac would take up more land and make it difficult for them to meet minimum density. And so the hammerhead then would be the alternate to that. It takes up less land, but it does require shifting coal mine quite a bit south and creates some very large, like leftover right-of-way areas on the north side. There is no, but it allows for full movement access from the south, from B Street onto Coal Mine here. So people could make a left out of the B Street. They'd still have the median, right in, right out median at North Phoenix and Coal Mine per the zone change. And that, I think, pretty much summarizes option B. Public Works has a long list of mitigations in our exception report on this one. They're mainly related to, dealing with this roadway shift, making sure that that meets engineering standards, making sure that these areas that will be like planter area, that the asphalt's removed from those, and dealing with other existing improvements that are there. Any questions on option B?
I have one question, Madam Chair. So we have a lot of new information, obviously, that we haven't had a chance to get through with the new Public Works report and such. But I didn't see the impact of the exception. So what I'm saying is the report says that it would make it difficult to meet minimum requirements as far as density. but it didn't say it wasn't possible. So is the applicant going to speak to if we don't approve the exception for B and we would need a cul-de-sac that they'd still, why the reason they could not meet minimum standards? Is that part of what we're going to hear?
That'd be a question for the applicant, yes.
Okay, because I don't think we could even consider this until we hear the impact of why it couldn't happen. And I didn't see that anywhere.
Are you going
And I could have missed it, that's possible.
Okay. Yeah, that would be a question for the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
All right, option C, the applicant requested on this one to allow a southbound left turn in at North Phoenix Road and Coal Mine, and then create a median here at Quarter Lane that would restrict lefts out, but would allow lefts in, as shown here. This one is not consistent with the zone change conditions that require a right-in, right-out road at North Phoenix and Coal Mine. So approval of this option would require modifying the zone change, which means, you know, the Planning Commission would also have to approve of that modified condition, and a new traffic analysis would be required to support that, to go along with the zone change modification. So Public Works cannot recommend approval of this option currently, given the zone change condition.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
If that was an option, obviously it would have to be in the future and it have to go through further steps, and a traffic study would have to be done. The last one is 5 years old. So if it was now determined that the traffic hike is too high of a count, is there any way there could be a required light there?
It's possible. However, I looked at the current counts compared to the ones that were done at this zone change, and they really haven't changed that much.
Well, we did approve a subdivision at Centennial that is already going underway. So
Correct.
we are also talking about hundreds more homes that aren't yet built that will also impact this road.
Yes, Centennial is required to build a traffic signal at that intersection.
At that intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're generating a lot more traffic. with
They're
their
generating more than 1,100 people.
Yes. Yeah, they have commercial, residential. I don't recall the exact number of units, but
Yeah. Oh, does anybody remember
substantially
that?
more traffic.
No? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on option C? So option D is another option to not mitigate anything, not do any mitigation at Quarter Lane and Coal Mine. It includes the right-in, right-out median per the zone change at North Phoenix and Coal Mine, and then doesn't address Quarter Lane. Public Works also does not support this option for two reasons. And we can't recommend approval because it's not consistent with the zone change for Phase 1B, and it also would put more traffic on Quarter Lane than it was designed for. That design not only includes like the width with the parking on one side, it also, we have a smaller structural section on the roadway, so less rock, less asphalt thickness, and so it would create a potential liability for asphalt maintenance, we feel. So any questions on option D?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Whitlock.
how is this not consistent with the zone change for 1B? I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying I don't understand what restrictions were placed on the zone change for 1B that this is inconsistent with.
Let me find it. In our report.
And I might just add, I'm particularly opposed to the do-nothing option, so.
So on the Public Works staff report that was included in the packet of revised materials today, page 8 of 18, if you look at the zone change conditions from ZC 22-078, number 3, one of the conditions on that zone change was that was to mitigate the intersection of Coal Mine Road and Quarter Lane to prohibit movements on Quarter Lane 2 from the north. So that's how.
Basically, that zone change anticipated that they did not want traffic from that subdivision utilizing the Quarter Lane street.
Correct.
Thank you.
I have another question, my apologies. All options, or just the first two that were decent, you did say, or Stefan, you said earlier during your presentation that there will be a second road in a different phase, correct?
Yeah, there are 3 roads total between the 2 phases.
So North Phoenix, that's parallel, that, are we talking that we're gonna get another road parallel to Coal Mine south of that? Yes. And how far down in the future is that? How many more units need to be built before you see a second road?
I'm not going to make it full screen, but this is North Phoenix Road, this green line, Coal Mine Road.
Mm-hmm.
So this development's building the 3 north-south streets, and then this east-west street to the limits of the project. This area, which is south and west of the irrigation canal on the property, the existing irrigation canal is not yet zoned and it is not part of these phases.
Correct. So that bottom red line that's parallel to Coal Mine, that's not on any of the graphs you just showed us. So when does that get installed? Because this would mitigate a lot of the one-way and one-way out stuff you're talking about if we knew there was a second route, because we're about to make a ruling on an exception or not. And the second road that you're talking about could help mitigate some of the issues you're currently proposing. So when do we see that road?
So that would be with this development, with future development.
Okay, so it could be another 10 years.
Yep,
6 years.
That'd be, question for the applicant.
It's definitely
probably.
not within the next 2 or 3 years. How about that? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to Steph.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I have a question of Mr. McNair before he sits down.
Good day for you.
He was quick too. I actually had a question as well.
I wanted to see how that about face was working today. You know, I heard some groans from the audience regarding the warrant process. Can you briefly explain that and warrant process? And I think it's something that is not understood generally by the public. I certainly don't understand it completely. I just know it exists, and it kind of regulates the types of traffic interchange requirements that are required for developers.
Yeah, great question, Commissioner Whitlock. So a traffic signal warrant is a set of tests, essentially, that are prescribed by the national standard called the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and or the MUTCD for short. The MUTCD tells us what stop signs should look like. It tells us what all signs should look like, really, and it gives us standards for roadway striping as well as traffic signals. It tells us, that you should have a red, yellow, and green ball and those types of things. It also tells you that you should only install traffic signals where they're warranted, because when you install traffic, I got ahead of myself. So only where they're warranted, and it gives you 8 warrants to check. Several of the warrants are related to traffic volumes. There's daily volumes, 8 hours throughout the day, you meet certain volume thresholds. And then there's different thresholds on a 4-hour basis. There's different thresholds on a 1-hour basis. And then there's also based on crashes, there's based on pedestrian volumes, and there's some others that are based on like signal progression and system. Those aren't really used as much. The main ones we use are the volume-based warrants. And those are also the ones that we can check with a potential development. We don't have a crash history yet. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but we have projections of future traffic. And there's some simplified ways. So the reason we follow those is that, one, signals are very expensive, and they're not only expensive to install, they're expensive for the city to maintain. So you only want to spend those public dollars where it's warranted. Also, putting signals in where they're not warranted can just make traffic stop for no reason, and it's inefficient. So those are kind of the primary 2 reasons why we follow those national standards. And that is what I meant when I said at the time of zone change, they looked at the traffic. These zone changes impacted the intersection of Wanapero and North Phoenix, and this development's actually being required to pay a share towards the cost of that future traffic signal. But they did not trigger the rise to the threshold that warrant was triggered, and it actually justified installation of the signal.
Madam Chair, if I may. And so there was no specific traffic study developed with respect to this series of applications, is that right?
There were 2 traffic studies, one for each zone change, one for the commercial zone change, one for the MFR 30 zone change. There is no traffic impact analysis required for the site plan approval.
May I piggyback what he said?
If I may, before you do that, I just for clarification purposes, in the initial report on Phase 1A, Public Works was opposed because it stated that there was no data relative to the trip counts, basically. And so that information was supplied at some point between when the initial report was drafted and today?
Yes, correct. And sorry, in my mind, I call that trip accounting.
I understand.
But yes.
I was trying to make the distinction clear to the audience listening as well.
Yes. So yes, there was you could call it a very minor traffic analysis done just looking at how much traffic is the area that's within that commercial zoning going to generate because of the trip cap that was placed on that area. We had to verify that what's proposed does not exceed what they agreed to cap the number of trips at.
And the data indicated 127 p.m. peak hour trips.
Correct.
Which is less than the cap.
Correct.
Right.
So-
And do you independently, effectively evaluate those traffic estimates, Carl? I mean, do you take a look at them and see whether, that kind of meets the smell test, basically?
Yes. So we use again, a national standard of trip generation estimates called the ITE Trip Generation Manual, and we verify that the numbers presented by the applicant are consistent with the ITE numbers.
And this is 5 years old.
Thank you.
Done in 2020, correct?
It was done for the zone change approval, correct?
So it was done during COVID when people weren't allowed to leave their house, and you are drastically not having an accurate portrayal of a true trip count. It needs to be redone, simply put.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So there were 2 zone changes. The MFR 20, the one on the, for 1B was done in 2022, and the one for 1A, the commercial property, was done in 2023. So they're more recent than 2020.
And do we have access to those? Have we been given them?
So the TIAs are not applicable to this site plan approval. Those were applicable to the zone change.
And these are national standards, which means an actuary or an engineer puts these together, right? Somebody who runs like actual insurance analysis for writing policies?
They're put together by the Institute for Transportation Engineering. It's a national body that collects data on these, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McNair.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, back to my part of the presentation.
Okay.
I got a couple more slides. I'll make it quick. Since part of the MFR 30 zoning district is buffering an exclusive farm use county zoning, our code does require a buffer. So that's the part where the orchard is on to the east. So we do require a 100-foot buffer, which was shown on the site plan, and that's along the red line there. And then you should have all received a revised Public Works site report, a revised fire department report, and several emails and letters from neighbors. I think I've counted 2 BB. So summarize the main concerns from neighbors were mostly traffic and infrastructure, the loss of the view shed, which Medford does not have any view shed standards. The capacity of the school district, we always include I think in this case it's the Phoenix Talent School District in our notices, and so they get the same information that you get. Increase in crime was one of the tied to the amount of new neighbors, and then ownership, parentheses, rentals are not too welcome in that area. If you have any questions about what was revised in the Public Works report or the Fire Department report, I can ask Mr. Burrows or Farrington to come down here and explain those to you, if that's...
I think that might be helpful because I know some of this information came to us late.
Yes.
So if you could be so kind, I would personally appreciate it.
If I may, Madam Chair, too, before you kind of leave this slide, I wanted to point out that another one of the huge issues was density, too much. You have the loss of view shed, and there was also property value diminution, I think, were some other things indicated by the neighbors.
Yeah, thank you.
Madam Chair. Sure.
Yes, Mr. Thomas.
So here's just a concern, maybe more so than, my understanding is that you're going to ask for a continuance because of all the documents that we've gotten, maybe, or not?
That's correct. That's part of the reason, yes.
So, so we can get the record right, because I personally, and I read every single thing I get, I did not have time to go through this.
Yes.
Because this was here, so.
Correct.
I don't feel comfortable, like, having this be the end of the staff report when I can go through and they're gonna summarize and then I have questions, so I'm wondering if we're gonna continue this anyway, if this should be continued to when we can hear from staff, and then the public can speak to what they heard from staff.
And give us more time to read the
I mean, obviously, if the
documents.
public's here to speak today, they should be allowed to speak, but I would rather have them speak right before decisions are made, so we have the texture and the context of what was just said, versus 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. So I don't care which way we do it, but I want to make sure that we're making the best decisions with the information that we currently have.
I agree with you as far as a continuance so we can review. I'm sure I know that a lot of people moved schedules around, and I want to hear every voice in the audience today, if they're willing to speak. They can come back next time too, but if somebody maneuvered their schedule to be here, they should have a right to speak.
But that would be my concern, is that can they speak more than once on the same topic? So if they speak today and then the more information is given, are they allowed to speak again? And I want to make sure that the ones that can come again, maybe wait to speak till then, so they have all the information, so they're not locked out of speaking, but I don't know what that rule is.
Well, and we might even have more emails and stuff too by then.
Kelly, can you clarify that for me? Because I know we've had instances before where we've had testimony from audience members at one date and then they've come back at another date. I do not recall, have they been able to testify at both hearings, or has it been once they testify, they cannot testify again?
I don't think we need to be that restrictive, Madam
Okay.
Chair. I think that, especially because there is new information that was not published with this agenda, I think it's important that the public have the opportunity to review and comment on that. So I think even if you hear testimony today, I think that folks that come are welcome to testify.
Okay, well, I'm happy to hear you say that because that's what I would appreciate. So I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I might add that, I mean, really, that's the whole public participation prong of this land use process, is to make certain that people can respond to information. So I never thought that we would in any way restrict a person's ability to come back. I would think out of, if you will, compassion for the members of the commission, it would be helpful if we don't hear repetitive information that has been hashed over perhaps during this hearing 5 or 10 times. But certainly they should be allowed and will be allowed to respond to any new information that comes in. And I do hope we're going to hear from staff today. I wasn't sure, Mr. Thomas, if you were saying we should not hear from staff today and have it done later?
I think we can answer, they can come up and address what we were given. My concern is that if they address what we're given and none of us have gone through it, then we're going to miss questions. So they certainly can do it now, but I would really like to be able to have them come back and say, okay, we've read the new Public Works report, we've read all the new information, now these are the questions that I have. That's my only concern.
So summary from Mr. Farrington here?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Tanner Farrington, your Fire Marshal. Just wanted to provide a little bit of context, and then reading the room, I'm going to take a little bit of time, if that's okay, to provide not only some specific responses, but some context as well, if that would be helpful, if I've got some nods and there's an interest. Okay, perfect. So to your point, Mr. Thomas, I'll just quickly go over why I revised our report. And that was the initial information that was provided showed a closure at coal mine in North Phoenix, because that was shown, that was consistent with the TSP, correct? Yes. Correct. So that's going to remain open, which creates an evacuation response route that wasn't shown originally. Yeah, thank you, Stefan. So that was the significance of the change in our report. Yeah, that's perfect. So I'm going to point to where that is. So the original document had this closed between A Street and North Phoenix. That's open now, which creates that as an opportunity for an evacuation and a response route. And then, Stefan, would you mind pulling up the diagram, the most recent diagram that I submitted? I appreciate it. And if not, that's okay. Or even like the bigger plan, the one that shows actually here. I'm going to pull up. Could you pull up Google Maps for me? Just Google Maps of that site. So while he's doing that, I'm just going to kind of generally go over some concept stuff. So 60 years ago, prior to Alameda, I probably would have had a little tougher time explaining the fire risk in the community. I think everybody understands and appreciates what can happen even in this area, so don't have to provide that context anymore. I know there was also a lot of really, really good comments that we received, so appreciate all that. I appreciate seeing kind of the concerns from the community on emergency evacuation and response. So I say all that to provide some context. So what we look at for land development is the fire code. So my responsibility is look at the fire code, look at what's being developed, and do two things. One is provide conditions based on what's in the fire code. So state law says fire code provides a minimum level of safety. I have no choice but to require the minimum requirements in the fire code, and I'll get more into that. Then I also get to provide comments, right? Context, information on what would help this development to be more safe. So we've had some discussions. I've been looped in on some of the access conversations. So I just want to start by saying what's being proposed, I believe, provides a reasonable level of safety. And I think there's some opportunities for the developer to do some things with landscaping, some of the building design that would provide additional defensible space and reduce the possibility for ember ignitions. So this area would be subject to ember ignitions similar to Almeda. So we lost a lot of structures. We got behind in defending the community from embers landing, getting into vegetation, spreading to buildings, going from building to building. So there's some opportunities, especially if it's advertised right. The people that are going to be living here are going to be interested in fire safety. So I think there's some opportunity there, regardless of what's required by code. So now I'm going to get into what's the fire code say. So our Muni code adopts in Chapter 7 the fire code again by state law as the minimum level of safety. There's sections in the fire code that talk about when are 2 access points required. And for development like this, for multifamily, it's if there's more than 200 units, regardless of whether they're sprinklered or not, that project is required to have 2 access points with remoteness. And so remoteness means, and this is kind of ties back to like a building safety concept. If you have exits, you separate them so that if you have 2 exits right together, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good. It's the same thing for community development. If you have 2 exits right together, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good because fire can move and those can get blocked. So in this case, I'm going to show on Google Maps where those 2 points are, and that they do have adequate separation and it does meet code. So I'm going to do that right now. So, what's that? Hey, that's a great idea. I'll make things a little easier. Okay, so we already kind of talked, A Street is approximately here, right? So the development will cover roughly this area, right? So what the code says is you take the diagonal of the overall development, which is about 1,500 feet in this case, and the 2 egress paths have to be a minimum of 1/2 that distance apart. So if A Street's about here, the other point out has to be about 750 feet away. So A Street's going to be about here, B Street's somewhere around here, and then, okay. So A Street here, B Street here. So people can either egress out through Coal Mine Road to North Phoenix, or they can go out C Street, go to the east, Stanford, Creekview, and out. So that meets the intent of the code and gives that time and that distance to be able to safely evacuate. The road width was brought up. That's a concern of ours too. We want adequate width so that people can evacuate at the same time as we're responding. So we call that simultaneous evacuation and response. The roadways that are provided would provide that ability. So, and then there's other stuff, there's other details to work through, hydrants, some of the specifics. Generally, the other code requirements appear that they'll be met, and we'll continue to coordinate with the applicant on those other requirements. So, that was a long way of saying it meets access and will meet water supply. Happy to answer any questions if there's any from the public, respond to any of their comments and any questions that you all have.
I understand that you just rendered your professional verdict. May I ask you your personal opinion on whether this is a safe entrance and outgo on these roads?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and I didn't do a good job of explaining it, but not only does it meet fire code, right, the minimum requirements, conceptually, we haven't really seen where that doesn't work. So Almeda, where people got trapped, where our people got trapped, it was single exit.
I lived in this neighborhood when that happened, and it was a nightmare to get in and out of. And
Sure.
we actually had nowhere to go because of where the fire was chasing us. And of course, the fires, and everybody was affected by this, they were spot fires all over. So I have a hard time fathoming the route you pointed out if there was a fire over there.
So, and you make a great point. There's limitations to how that evacuation is going to work. It requires a couple things. Evacuation notice, which did not go out as fast as it should have during Almeda. That was a problem. There was a delay, and so people weren't aware and didn't have that time to evacuate. So in theory, and we've made some changes for evacuation routes and notification. In theory, if we can get people like you that information out sooner, then we have the time to get people out before that fire is there and threatening. Does that help answer your question?
I mean, one of them, but I asked if your, not your professional opinion, your personal, the in-go, out-go, the one-way lane on North Phoenix, no traffic light, like you as an individual living a daily life, not driving a fire truck, what, do you like it? Do you like the proposed plan?
I'm not going to speak to it on my personal opinion because I'm in uniform. I'm going to be talking about
I
what.
figured you wouldn't, but your reaction is still gaugeable.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say. I care personally what the code means and what my professional opinion means to the community. So I'm not going to stand up here and say I think something is safe or meets code if I don't believe it. So here's what I'll say. Looking at Almeda, looking at other fires, I think with our department's response capabilities and where we have stations and where we have staff and the efforts that the city has put forth to improve communication for emergencies, I think this is going to provide a reasonable level of safety and that we have the capability of letting the public know, the people that are going to be living here, if there's something happening and give them time to get out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Whitlock.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just a couple of topics I want covered. One is, are these buildings, the apartment buildings, going to have sprinklers in them? So they won't rely exclusively on fire hydrants, which was, of course, the Almeda experience.
Yes, so great questions. So sprinklers are intended to provide survivability. So specifically for apartment buildings by state code, they're required to have sprinklers. The design of those is for tenability, meaning and survivability. So if a fire starts on the inside of a structure, it's going to give people enough time to survive until we get there and rescue and finish the job putting out the fire. Almeda situation, no sprinkler system is going to stop that. When you've got structure to structure ignition, those sprinkler systems are not designed to slow down or stop that scenario. So I want to make that distinction. So to answer your question, yes, they will be required to have sprinklers. And then we place hydrants and fire department connections. So fire department connection meaning it's a pipe that's connected to the sprinklers. We connect from a hydrant to the fire department connection, boost the sprinklers, that helps control the fire, and then we'll connect to another hydrant and finish the job of putting a fire out. And those are those additional details we will work through.
Thank you.
I hope.
Kind of one final topic, if you
Of
wouldn't
course.
mind, please. And that is talking about access. And you were here, I know, when they were talking about the median at the intersection of North Phoenix and Coal Mine Road to prevent effectively southbound exits off of Coal Mine onto North Phoenix. Would that be better for fire safety if that median wasn't there? I'm not talking about traffic generation, but I'm talking about fire safety.
It's a great question. So I think of two things. One, overall community safety. we're worried about fire. We're also worried about responding to vehicle accidents too. So we have a good working relationship with our engineering department. And a solution for that looks like having that median, if it's warranted, to restrict normal traffic flow for just normal use of the roadways. And we're worried about emergency response also. And so in those situations, we'll often ask for mountable curbs so that we can get our apparatus over those traffic installations. And if we're using lights and sirens, we can go in backwards. You know, we're not really subject to the same traffic laws for responding to emergencies, so that helps too.
Thank you, Tanner. And I actually asked that question because I wanted to illustrate that there are sometimes competing public safety interests that the city has to deal with.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
One more question, sorry.
Yeah.
You have a station close by. Is that a ladder truck station? Because these will be tall buildings.
They will be tall buildings. You're absolutely correct. I was going to wait to see if the person that provided those comments was here, but yeah. So any building over 3 stories or 30 feet to the eave is required to provide aerial access. So this site will be designed for that. So that means 26-foot wide access in front of the buildings, so that we can set up our ladder truck for rescue, roof operations, that sort of thing. That truck is currently at Station 13, which is down the road.
By the roundabout, right?
By the roundabout,
Okay.
Yep, Highland. And so with these changes, I mean, this development is a little bit further away than other development. It's closer than some other developments. Increase in traffic, it could slow us down a little bit. At the same time, development happening is what pays for additional resources, engines, staffing. And so we're kind of in this game with development of, you know, we catch up with stations and apparatus and staffing, and then we're behind a little bit, and then we catch up again. So it's not perfect. It's going to be a little bit slower to this new development than it is to the existing development on the north side of Coal Mine, but not so much that we believe that we can't.
And a ladder
support it.
truck doesn't have an issue getting onto like Wanapero or Coeur d'Alene right now, or Coal Mine. There's no issue getting on or backing out, because the ladder trucks, what's the length of those again?
They're long, and the new one that we're getting in a couple years here is even longer, but it's
36 feet?
what's that? Even
42?
longer,
Something,
yeah.
I can't remember.
The new one that we're getting is even longer, and but it's a tiller. So
Yeah.
even though it's longer, it bends in the middle and gets us around a little easier. So
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions?
Thank you. Any other questions of, yeah, Miss Aiken?
Tanner, if I could, so where's the nearest station?
Sorry. Thank you, Kelly. Near station is Station 16, which is, hey, look, we have Google Maps right here.
Next to RCU, Albertsons, Morton's, it's across the
So
street right there.
I'll just zoom out. So that's the end of Barnett, North Phoenix. Our station's right there. And then 13, since we asked the question, is right here. So we would either go down Highland and up Barnett, or maybe down Siskiyou a little bit. Probably out to Barnett, and then to this location.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if anybody in the audience has questions for fire, I would incorporate those in their public testimony, and then Tanner can address them after that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, okay. And Mr. Burris.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners. I'm Doug Burrows with the Public Works Department. So Carl did a good job explaining the options and our responses to those, and even some of our conditions associated with some of those. And honestly, that is the majority of what changed in our report, was addressing those options. Our initial report addressed one mitigation option at Coeur d'Alene and Coal Mine. I think we had started, I think the one in the packet may have been the one that talking specifically about the hammerhead only option. And so when the applicant decided to say, hey, let's throw out several options to kind of see which one gets the most traction, we wanted to address each one of those, kind of present the pros and cons, which ones we supported, which ones we didn't. So that's the majority of the changes, and any other changes were very minor kind of related to changing language to kind of point the reader to those options in the descriptions in those sections. So mostly under the access and circulation were the language changes in our report. The exception report, we had addressed some of the initial findings that we received to support the exception from the applicant. And then those were modified, and so we changed our language slightly. But in essence, all our conditions, if it is approved, are the same. And we also continually state our favorite, which was the one-way at this point. So that's pretty much it as far as the changes to the reports.
Doug, I had a question, and not to like throw a wrench into this discussion regarding coal mine and North Phoenix, but I know, the audience had expressed some displeasure or gasp at the not having a street light there, and you'll have to forgive me, I did not recall in the report seeing that a median was proposed there to dictate a left and a right. Again, not to throw a wrench out, but with Centennial's development and that light and the speed of that's currently on North Phoenix, had a roundabout ever been looked at with North Phoenix and coal mine?
Coal mine or Wanapiro?
Coal mine.
Not that I'm aware of. I could consult with Mr. McNair, see what other options. The TSP talked about the coal mine. I don't know if there was any other design options. Do you want to try to swing at that one? And the signal was at Wanapiro and North Phoenix, and that
Gotcha.
was the warrant issue. So yeah, I'll let Carl address any roundabout stuff. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Carl McNair again. So at Coal Mine and North Phoenix, the Southeast Circulation Plan actually addresses that and says that should be a restricted access because it's too close to the planned signal at Wanapiro and North Phoenix for North Phoenix Road. We have spacing requirements on signals. And our traffic impact analyses do require that we look at roundabouts, but there's not really a preference for roundabouts or signals. So I believe the Centennial TIA looked at a roundabout there, and I don't recall the details of that. That was several years ago. But I know it was looked at, but ultimately a signal was selected.
Thank you.
Before you go, so over the years, we've discussed the Cali Vista in North Phoenix where Cherry has a light. We've discussed many times that being a yellow center divider or one way in, one way out meridian or adding a light. And I don't remember exactly what had been determined, but it never happened. And so that is a nightmare area to get in and out of. And my concern is even if we did approve, that it would take too long to install or never get done, because we have seen that occur. So whatever the exception is, when does that get installed? Is it the first thing going in, or are we watching 400 people move in and then a meridian gets installed?
No, these would be required prior to building permits being issued. Any mitigations associated with this.
And this is obviously sidewalks and streetlights as well.
Yes, for the frontage of the development.
And at any point ever, and you probably don't know this and I wouldn't fault you for that, is that road going to be a 4-lane? Kelly, that might be a you question.
North Phoenix Road?
Correct.
Yes, it will be 2 lanes each direction with the center median or turn lane.
Would that change this one way in, one way out when that occurs? I don't know when that's occurring. I'm just.
So this development will be required to do their frontage, basically from coal mine down to the irrigation ditch here. As Centennial develops, they'll be required to do the other side. So it'll be incremental over time that this transitions from the 2-lane up to the 5-lane.
Okay, so it'll be one day a 4-lane road.
Yes, and this would remain a right in, right out here, or be, yeah. I expect it to remain a right in, right out. The southeast plan actually called for it to be completely closed, but you know, it's a local street, and it seems like the right in, right out, unless that becomes a major safety concern, it should probably, I don't think the city would push to have it fully closed without it being an actual safety concern.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Whitlock, did you have something?
Thank
to
you,
add?
Madam Chair. Actually, a couple of comments. And one of the things I was going to ask Doug, but since you're up here and you mentioned it, the street frontage along the westerly edge of this project is going to be required to give some additional right-of-way to accommodate that 4-lane. Is that correct?
Yeah, to give right-of-way and to construct
Right.
the roadway as well.
I know one of the questions that came up in the comments was basically not anticipating that that's going to have to be a wider right-of-way, and in fact, the Public Works report is requiring some additional right-of-way dedication, as you point out, as well as improvement of that side of the North Phoenix.
Correct.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, however, is something for staff to consider. You know, frankly, from my perspective, the least impact that this development can have on the usage of Quarter Lane is one of my goals. I don't like the one-way because it restricts the people who currently live there. The comment about option C was that there were some changes on North Phoenix that were different than the zone change requirements. I understand that. And there was also concern that people might use Wanapero Lane, turn right on Quarter Lane, and then turn right on Coal Mine to turn left ultimately on A. And that could be mitigated, eliminated if people obeyed the law by putting some sort of left turn restriction from Coal Mine on to A Street to the south, right? I mean, if it prohibited a left turn there, they couldn't use that Quarter Lane to access A.
They could. Do you have the site plan? I just want to point out a potential downside of that.
Good, thank you.
Though, yeah, that's great. So that's good. So if there was a left turn restriction here at A, and you're coming from the north, you're going to have to take, what is C Street into, well, I guess you'd take B or C if it was the, which option? We're on option C? Talking
Yeah,
about
well,
option C, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
C has the median though, doesn't it?
C has a median here, so the median would allow for a left, would also allow a left in here at B. So I guess you're eliminating people's ability to turn left here. They'd have to go through the development a little further.
Right. But
from
it
B
would
Street
eliminate
over
people turning right
or
off of
coming up here.
Wanapero onto Quarter Lane to
Correct.
access A.
Yes.
Yeah. So
If
if
the-
option C had that additional restriction and removed the, basically the open turns, the full turn intersection at Coal Mine, would that alleviate any of Public Works' concerns about option C? And I like option C initially because, as I said, it doesn't place any restrictions on Quarter Lane except restricting basically some of those southbound movements.
I believe so. I would like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I would want to see it and think through it fully before I gave an firm
Well, I would
answer.
ask that staff consider that. Like I said, from my perspective, the least interference we can do with the traffic on Coeur d'Alene to those existing neighbors is something I would like to accomplish if it's possible.
Right.
That's my opinion, not the opinion of the commission. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Doug Burrows again. One issue with option C, besides a left in off of North Phoenix on the coal mine, was it allowed a eastbound left to the north to go through coal mine, and that's not initially what we were okay with. Yeah, I think, does this mouse work? No. This is just a paperweight. Okay. Paperweights are great. This lane here is a left, so this will allow people to come out of A Street, head east, and then turn left and go up Coeur d'Alene. I think our initial, actually it might be in the report that did publish, was a different configuration for that median that did not allow that movement. It would allow people to turn left off of B and head west on Coal Mine, but it would not allow people to turn left off of Coal Mine and head north onto Quarter. You know, we're concerned about pavement. We're also concerned about people going down that street too. That's a lot more than that street was ever meant to do. And so that was a big part of it. The TIA didn't route any traffic down it, so it accommodated people not going down it as well. So I appreciate the applicant going to great lengths to try to come up with some other solutions and working a lot with us to kind of brainstorm on what might work. And I'm glad a lot of folks are here today. I applaud them for coming. That's why we have this process, and I value their input on, especially folks that might live on Coeur d'Alene, on kind of how they see this playing out. So I think that's all I had. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention. It got touched on, and some of the public comments were commenting on the streets and how narrow they are. And Mr. Whitlock, I appreciate you bringing that up. Not only are they going to have to improve North Phoenix along their frontage, they have to essentially improve all of Coal Mine Road from North Phoenix all the way to Juan Aparo, and then even farther east on the side of this property. So it'll be brought up to city standards, curb, gutter, sidewalk, planter strip. All those things will be in place now once they do their project. So I think that's worthy to note.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Does the commission have any other questions of staff? Okay.
All right. Thank
Then
you.
I think we'll go ahead and open it up to the applicant.
Could I have staff put up one exhibit before we do that?
Sure.
Thank you. Stefan, would you please put up the criteria,
Yes.
not for the exception request, but thank you. The reason I wanted to do this before the public comment is I, like Ms. Powell, want to hear everything that the public has to say. Like Mr. Thomas, I also read every word of at least the parts that I can understand of the staff reports and all of the public comments to make sure I understand what the concerns are. But I just want to point out the first sentence, which says that the approving authority shall approve a site plan, and the rest of it basically says if it complies with the standards. This commission's discretion is extremely limited, almost non-existent, except for the exception request. We are really the public barometer for making certain that the standards are complied with. And so again, I just want to make it clear to the audience that this commission is bound to simply follow the standards which the city council have put in place with respect to the various developments. In this particular case, it's a multifamily development covering many acres. And so, as I said, I just want to make sure that the audience was aware that we don't get to make some of the decisions that the comments would like us to be able to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitlock. I was going to say very similar to what you did. You might have been a little bit more eloquent than I might have been.
He's a
but
lawyer.
Yes, well, while we take our jobs very seriously, unfortunately, there is only a certain degree that we are able to enforce as a decision body. So please don't take any of our responses to your comment as something that we don't care about. We're only allowed to weigh in on the architecture review and site plan decision. We can't make any changes or decisions regarding any code regulations that have been made to this point.
I have something to say. Are we
Yes.
going to hear from the applicant prior to public hearing? And
Correct.
then we can, okay, because I'd love to hear that first.
Yes, yes. So with that being said, we're going
I
to
know, I
open the
was
public
thinking
hearing and
public
welcome the
hearing, then
applicant
people,
and
then-
or
then
agent.
rebuttal.
Good afternoon, Dan Horton, agent for the applicant. Let me sign in here.
You can do it after.
A lot of information trading hands here. Staff has done a good job, I think, of presenting to you a lot of good information. Basically, by these standards, we have to meet Medford Development Code 10.312, which is multifamily 30 density, which basically the max density is 30 units to the acre, minimum is 20. We're falling right in the mid-range there, about 23 units to the acre. We don't really have a choice on density, it's code. We have to meet it. As far as street layouts go, code section 10.426, block length and perimeter standards. The placement of the streets on this site plan are to those standards. They dictated where those streets go. As far as the setbacks and building heights, that's section 10.710. Basically it dictates, side yards, front yards, et cetera, and height requirements. In this zone, we could actually go up to 55 feet in height, and we're on a 3-story, based on the definition of building height, we're probably about 24 feet. So we're, quite under the 55. And then code section 10.715 has to do with the special development standards for multifamily, and our architectural design has taken all those into consideration. We've got articulation of the walls, we've got, window, numbers of window requirements, materials, those kind of things. Our application meets those standards. So with that being said, I guess I'm open to answering any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Horton. Are there any questions of the applicant? Mr. Whitlock?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I kind of wanted to go over the density with you. I was looking at the information over the last few days. So as you point out, you're just barely above the minimum. When I looked at the minimum zoning densities for both of these phases, A and B, it looks like it's about 458 units that would have been required, right? And you have about 32 more than that? Most
Yeah,
all in phase 1A.
We're a little bit over. We're at 23 units to the acre.
Yeah. Thank you.
And 20 is a very minimum.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Thomas?
So just because I'm not as smart as everybody else here. So on the first zonings, there's 2 zones that we're building into, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so the first zone is commercial,
yes.
but we're putting multifamily homes there. And I
Medford
understand
code
I
allows.
understand the code allows that, and that's
Yeah.
why I'm a no every time, because I don't think it should. When the zone change was requested, why wasn't it requested to put multifamily homes there versus commercial?
I was not involved in that process, so I cannot answer
Okay.
that.
So because what frustrates me, and it has as being the liaison to the Planning Commission when I voted no on this the first time. The reason I voted no was because you're building residential multifamily homes in something that was sold as commercial. So is there a reason why they're not doing commercial like it was? Because I understand that trip counts might be higher, but commercial runs, maybe if these are, you know, professional offices, this runs from 8 in the morning until 4:30 or 5 at night. It doesn't run 24/7. So that's a massively different impact on the community who was sold that that was going to be commercial, and now it's multifamily homes.
Yeah, well, you know, access to commercial is somewhat, I mean, we're talking about traffic and access and so on. Basically limited access, well, no access onto coal mines and no access off of North Phoenix onto this property. How would you access commercial? You would have to come down through a residential neighborhood to get to it. And, you know, there's no road exposure. Could be offices, but, you know, you're eliminating retail, you know, pass-by traffic and so on.
But I mean, but that's the concern, is that we're putting a lot of density further out, and the idea was to have more commercial to service that density, and now there's no commercial to service it. It's all just going to be residential.
On this phase, yeah. Future phases, as we go down the further
But being
to the
honest with you, the
south.
future save is you could do the same thing.
Well, we've
because
got
of the way the
commercial.
code is written, correct?
Yeah, we have commercial designed into phase 3 at this point.
But you could change that to just multifamily, correct?
Good.
Yeah. And then the second question I had is about one of the options that you wanted an exception to, is that could you kind of walk through, if a cul-de-sac was put there, which is the option that I would like the best, why you can't do that and requested an exception?
We could do it. A cul-de-sac is a big round
Correct.
radius thing, and it's like 37 foot, as I recall off the top of my head, radius. So you're, 37 twice is, 72 foot in diameter. And from the end of the, Quarter Lane, kicking that bulb out another 72 feet, really puts a big curve in coal mine to get around it. So the solution to the turnaround was to do a hammerhead where the width on that hammerhead is, I can't remember off the top of my head, 12, 15 feet, as opposed to your 72 feet. So the swerve around that turnaround is a lot less severe. And, you know, besides the curve in the road, it also takes up more buildable land off of this proposed development. So we'd end up losing density and probably some parking as well to do the true cul-de-sac.
But would you be able to stay within minimums?
Without doing design work, I'd have to, probably so.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question as well. Driving by this land, is there not a for sale sign on it?
A what?
A for sale sign on it?
I haven't been by there in a while. I can't tell you.
Okay, so if, hypothetically, if this wasn't something that was approved, what's the next step?
Well, you know, it's up to the owner to decide what to do with the property once it's approved, either build or sell, you know, individual. I think the intent is to padlock this project so he could sell individual pads and have someone come in and build,
Okay.
or he
gotcha.
could build them
I'm
himself.
pretty sure there's a for sale sign on it, could be wrong. And then also, we spent a lot of time on density, traffic count, et cetera. I would love to see a new report personally, but the old one I'd like to have in my hands as well, Kelly. So to, and I'm not quite sure about this, but is there a way we can, because I'm guessing we're going to hear about a lot of views being destroyed, and is there a way that there could be shorter, like all the front buildings be 2 stories or have greater setbacks or even decrease the density since you are higher than the minimum?
Well, the buildings that are up against coal mine in the vicinity of existing residences, those are all currently 2-story.
Do you know the height offhand for our audience?
The
Stefan
definition
said
of a building height is the top of the plate, so the top of the wall, and we would be about 18 feet.
So then you have to add the height of the roof, correct?
Yeah, that building height does not count the roof.
Yeah. And a roof peak is what, 12,
That kicks you up another
18?
probably 10 feet or so.
So we're talking 38 feet up?
So let's say 12 and 18, to the ridge of the building, you're looking at somewhere around 30 feet.
Yeah, 30 feet. And then the buildings, how far apart are the buildings? So are we
They're all
talking-
at least 20 feet apart. That's fire code.
Okay. And then are you guys proposing, I didn't see any, I know you said community centers, but is there going to be like any park or that's
Yeah.
not only available to your residents?
Well, there's open space around the community center. If you look at Phase 1A, you see the community center just across the parking lot is a pretty good-sized open space.
Now, okay.
And as this project develops in phases, a lot of the open space is in Phase 3, and it's in an area that's really not buildable because of slopes and so on. So we're kind of reserving that area down there for, once we're all said and done with all 3 phases, there's going to be about 20% of the site is going to be open space.
Okay. And are any of these units for sale or are they all going to be rentals?
Well, they're not condos. The buildings, put on a padlock could be for sale, but, and I guess somebody could do a condo out of them if they wanted to, but
So as of right now, the plan is to rent out every unit. Now, is any of this government required low-income housing?
no.
So they're all at market rents?
Yes.
And there's on-site managers, how many?
I'm not privy to how it's going to be managed.
Okay.
If these are padlocked, there will be a homeowners association associated with it.
Okay, so there's 13 structures currently, but there's 3 sets of 13. So you're saying, because I'm a realtor, so you're saying that each individual structure at one point in time could be sold?
Yes. Yep. And like I say, there would be a homeowners association to take care of the common area, to take care of, fire,
Correct, yeah.
fire vaults, sprinkler vaults, that kind of thing.
HOA fees, gotcha.
The community center would be part of that.
Are there any garages?
No garages.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? All right, thank you, Mr.
Thank
Horton.
you.
I'm going to
Yep.
assume that you will like to reserve time for rebuttal as we welcome those from the public that would like to come down and speak. Please sign your name and state your name, address for the record.
My name is Lori Baining, and I've been a Medford resident for the last 18 years. Maybe this is not a question that you all can answer, but I was just curious about the timeline for this development in relation to the Centennial Project, the development that's happening farther east on Coal Mine. There seems to be a lot of land moving around, going around there. And then also, I've seen signs for a proposed development on Barnett Road, east of North Phoenix. As I went up there for a walk, and I'm seeing multi-family family something. I think I have a photo of it I could show you. But there's just a lot going on, and I'm just wondering the timeline for this all and how that is going to impact traffic and everything that we're talking about today. And I need to leave in like 2 minutes, so.
Madam Chair, if I might, so are the site plan decisions are valid, if their approval are valid for 2 years with a possibility of 1 year for extension to be, to start construction? Yes.
So that all could be happening all at the same time? I'm wondering about like if Centennial could be developed at the same time that this would be going on? Would
It
that
could.
be correct?
It's possible, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name's Julie Travers. I live over on Rena Drive, which is kind of right around the corner from coal mine and this development. And we wanted to express our concern about the fire and evacuation plans for moving 450 cars or whatever onto that narrow road. And if we can't turn left there, perhaps in an evacuation you could, but still the traffic moving down Wanapiro and not having a signal at the same time all of this is going on. Right now, it's very difficult to turn left at Wanapiro and Phoenix. Most people, I think, in that area go down Coal Mine to turn left because you have a better view. The cars coming around the corner, they're up on a kind of a hill and come down into the Wanapiro and North Phoenix Road, and they're clipping along pretty good there, so it's not really a good place to make a left. Down at Coal Mine, you can see the cars much better, and if there's not going to be a signal there at the same time of 450 cars or so going in, that's, I think, is a big concern, especially if there's other developments going across the street there. That's going to be a thing, and so if there's no time frame built in, that's a concern. And then we were concerned about, in the evacuation, not only the people trying to evacuate onto a single road North Phoenix heading out, but the people behind us, the subdivisions, are also going to be trying to get out onto North Phoenix, and the backed up traffic in an evacuation, and where you're going to go, because you're either going into the population or down a little bit, and so that's of concern, trying to move that many people, especially if they're all having to, not very many people are going to be able to turn right or left on Coal Mine. It's it won't be long enough, and you'll have backup, and then trying to move everybody out down the Wanapiro way, including the people from the top of Coal Mine now trying to come out that way as well. You have to wind around Barnett to get out the other way. So we were concerned about those kinds of things. And if they don't have the last thing was if they don't have a light going in, right now there's not like a designated turn lane or anything on Wanapiro out of that subdivision there. And so would all that streets get restriped or some kind of a left turn, so that if you're trying to turn right, everybody's trying to turn right and turn left on Wanapiro, are they going to refix the streets on and that kind of a thing? So those were our concerns, and mostly about the fire and evacuation.
Thank you. Amanda, I don't know if you're in charge of the timer, but since you're having some issues. Okay, I just want to be sensitive. I know we have a lot of people that need to speak, so we'll try and maybe flag you down if.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll try and be quick. David Sprague, lifetime resident, born and raised. Sorry. I think for all of us in the community, like concerns are obviously traffic, fire, overflow. One question that comes up is why we wouldn't put the street into the south of the project as a requirement of the exception. Because it alleviates a ton of the traffic issues, it alleviates the overflow, it alleviates a lot of the fire concerns by having that street put in to the south now versus phase 3, 4, 5, whatever that comes into play. So my question to the commission would be, is that a consideration for approval of this exception to have that street put in now versus in the future? And then I think with regards to the street light, it's for the safety of the community. I mean, we're the ones asking for it to live there because we're the ones that deal with it every day. And I think that's the difference. Yes, it may not be in a study or somebody's government, whatever, but the people that live there are asking for it as a safety concern, and I think that needs to be taken into consideration as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll sign this in a second. My name is Robert Mountain. I live on Quarter Lane, so this would be a big change for me and my wife. We just moved in about a year ago. It's beautiful. I mean, just that part where they're going to build is probably one of the most prettiest parts of Southern Oregon.
Can you be sure and speak in?
Oh,
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
No, I can't.
Okay, sorry about that.
So please speak up and close to the microphone.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, just tons of wildlife. I mean, we see foxes out there and deer. It's just stunning. But, this is probably going to happen at some point because it's a property. But I think for us, we're going to lose that view, that beautiful scenery. We have our grandkids that play out in the street all the time. We don't have any traffic at all. We're the only ones that really go down there. So when I look at the option, the first option, it shows the one way. I mean, everyone's going to come right up Quarter Lane. First thing in the morning, all the cars are going to come down and go straight through our road. And so that's going to be just a huge change for us. It's nothing that I would want. Wouldn't have moved in there if that was going to be the case. And there's only 5 homes and we're all very close. We feel safe there. And we're going to have this apartment complex and, 5 years, 10 years from now, who knows what it'll look like? Who knows who will be living in it? And so that's just kind of, I think the second plan with the hammerhead would be a really good option for us. It'd make it so there wouldn't be hardly any traffic at all, just be really us. I get that there's a cost, but I mean, we're losing a big thing here. And so that's just the consideration that I would ask, is to look at the B option with the hammerhead. I know the people at the end of the street already are selling. They're ready to get out. But just kind of, if you've been there, walked up that coal mine and just been around that area, it's just stunning. And so, yeah, that's what I would really hope, that you would look at shutting that off, however we can shut it off. So it's just our little small community that can thrive in there and still live our happy lives. So, yep. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Mr. Mountain, if you could wait your turn. Did you hear Public Works say that they liked option A with a median, which would so it would be one way, but there would be a median which would prevent any of the traffic from the subdivision getting onto Quarter Lane?
Yeah, from Wanapero.
No, from the other way as well. There'd be a median which would prevent that traffic from turning left onto Quarter Lane.
Option C?
No, what Public Works is recommending is option A, but they want to add a median in the middle of Coal Mine Road that would prevent any of that traffic from going north onto Quarter Lane.
To be fair, though, that wasn't published, so he could not see that yet.
I know, but he mentioned it today. That's what I said. It was what he said today. So it's option, take a look at option A with the median, which on Coal Mine Road, which prevents any of that northerly movement from the subdivision onto Quarter Lane.
At all? Nobody's coming in through?
Well, I suppose you could go around the median, turn left, and then turn right. onto Quarter Lane, but once they've turned right on Coal Mine, they're going to go to Wanapero.
Okay.
Take a look at that anyway. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon and happy Friday. My name is Ben Klein, certified financial planner. I was an Army officer, spent a lot of time in an operation shop downrange. I think to me, what concerns me most is really been echoed this entire time, and thank you for bringing up some of the concerns that really hadn't been voiced previously. So I want you to really consider the amount of impact that we're putting onto Wanapero. If you've ever been on the intersection of Coal Mine to Wanapero, it's actually really tight. And if there were a string of cars there, I really doubt that a fire engine would be able to get in. Considering that all of those emergency service traffic will be coming from the north, that to me seems like an unreasonable choke point. And so, yeah, I think David absolutely hit it out of the park, which what the neighborhood really wants is compartmentalizing this development from the rest of Coal Mine. We already have a significant issue with foot traffic from walkers coming up the road. There are about 3 choke points that I'm just going to tell you, somebody's going to die eventually on that. If we had more bodies walking that road, which is not designed to handle foot traffic, somebody's going to get hit. And so I look at this and I see an issue with overall context to include traffic increase from Centennial, the new Mahar developments coming into the east, and we all know the rest of North Phoenix is going to be, developed. So recognizing there's a distance issue with Coal Mine and Wanapero that we can't have 2 traffic lights, why not, like David said, put in a road down here to the south, which hopefully alleviates that distance concerns, compartmentalizes this massive project from the rest of our small rural community, and reduces strain on the existing infrastructure. Thank you.
Very well put.
Thank you. Is there any, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Okay. All right. Then, let's see, is Mr. Horton, do you have anything that you would like to speak in regards to any of this public testimony?
Thanks for asking. I don't have anything to add. Any further questions?
I have a further question. So we just heard some testimony about an additional road, the southern road that you eventually will install.
So is that Street A?
I
I don't know,
it's
you guys
First
called
Street.
like 3 streets, Street A, so I don't know which one's which.
Yeah.
It's First Street, I
I'm
believe they're referencing.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about, so, does that say Street A? I can't see that. So
First
no,
Street.
I'm talking about what's parallel to Coal Mine. So this,
First
First
Street.
Street. So not Street A, right?
First Street.
Okay,
First
First Street. So why are we not installing First Street to help alleviate all of the concerns? And you have to imagine, if you're installing 490 units, they're going to have concerns too. They're just not here because they don't live here yet.
That connection would be great, and we'd love it. The problem of it is that connection goes across property that has not been zoned, and
So it's still a holding pattern? It's still zone 00?
yeah. Maybe there's a way to work with the planning commission to get that road punched through there.
Do we have any idea when that would occur? Anybody? Kelly?
We don't have an application for it at this point, so I don't have an idea when that could.
Oh, so it could be
It's a local street, so it would be development driven.
I don't know if there's a way to get that through there without zoning.
It's possible, sure. It's different in the county. Remember, it's in the city, so if properties, transportation facilities, and particularly the EFU land is problematic because it requires a goal exception, but in the city, it's possible.
Yeah.
So that's in the UGB, or you guys annexed it in. So how far is that road, First Street? How far is that from your proposed development? Is it possible, Kelly, and this is a double-ended question for both of you, is it possible to place that to just lose a building or two and then put that street in to alleviate Because we're not talking about the subdivisions that these people live in. We're talking about literally 1,000 people in the future too.
Yeah, I'm not sure I totally understood the question.
So could you install the road on your land instead of this person who's in the future?
Did you ask about what the length of that road is to make a connection out to?
No, so how far is First Street? How, does that border your property?
It's part of this project, I believe.
No, he just said it's not.
Well,
It's on unzoned land.
First Street
The
is,
little corner
First Street?
between the irrigation and,
So First Street would be, the extension that is missing is right here.
yeah, right.
And that doesn't have, we don't have zoning out there yet, which might
So
help
you're
you.
installing from that pink corner, the left corner, all the way to the back brown corner. You're gonna install First Street right now. And because that little funky section is not zoned, do you guys own it?
Yeah.
You just haven't done a zone change?
Right.
So you could do a zone change now and install that road and alleviate lots of problems, but you don't want to?
Maybe even install it without a zone change, possibly too, since it is within urban growth boundary. Be up to these guys.
That might be a Burroughs question.
Mr. McNair has an answer why.
Man, I've put you through the ringer today. I am really big on parking.
So part of the issue with First Street is this was not included in the zone change area, and so all the conditions of the zone change would be different if, you know, the trip distribution from this site would be different. So they're like, these sites have a lot of traffic shown in the zone change going up Wanapero to North Phoenix, and that's why they have to contribute to that traffic signal. If First Street went in, more traffic would come down to First Street most likely. That number would change. So what I'm trying to get to is that putting in First Street would change the zone change conditions, so they would need to go back, open up the zone change in order to do that.
They found a great loophole, in other words. They'll do it after this all gets approved, is what I'm hearing. Could be wrong, but I'm inferring that.
any other comments? Okay.
I guess my final word is we ask for your approval of this development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, before he
Thank you.
steps down, Mr. Horton, please stay. And you're asking for approval of all of the applications, including the Hammerhead, or are you asking for approval of the Phase A and Phase B?
Yeah, we would like approval of Phase 1A and 1B and leave the exception in the Hammerhead open so that we can work with Public Works and figure out what the best solution is, whether it be, and also with input from the neighborhood, what they would prefer, whether it be a dead end or one way. You know, we've kind of explored the other options that aren't going to work so well. So I guess you could approve the exception for, I believe that was option B, and we may or may not use it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Horton.
So, Mr. Horton, again, I'm sorry to catch you before you leave again. So staff's recommendation at this point is to continue to the next meeting, which is November the 21st. Mm-hmm. Is that satisfactory to you?
Yes.
Okay.
So Kelly, with that being said, do we actually leave the public hearing open?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
So, Madam
okay.
Chair, so would you put your, oh, I'm sorry, Tanner, did you have something else?
Tanner has some
Oh.
answers for you too. Or
Okay.
comments.
Thank you, Tanner Frankton again. So I just wanted to address some of the public comments since there were some. And there were some great questions on access and evacuation. There was some both from the commission and from the public. So I just wanted to kind of address some of that. First Street would be a great connection. More exits from a community are better for sure. Obviously, there's some challenges with the zone change. I don't know if there's a possibility, and it sounds like the applicant and owner may be open to that. So maybe there's a simultaneous process for moving forward with this project, but even before some of the stuff to the south gets done, going through that zone change TIA update and kind of progressing towards adding that First Street. I don't know if they're interested in supporting that, and there's some opportunity for some conversations, but that seems like some good middle ground that would address some of the evacuation response concerns. And I'll tell you, we definitely wouldn't be opposed to that. So any other questions for fire staff?
I'm glad you brought that up. Thanks for speaking.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so we're going to leave the public hearing open, but I believe the desired outcome is to continue each of these items to the November 21st hearing. So I guess we'll start with Haya Park 1A, and do we have a motion to continue?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would move that we leave the public hearing open and the public record open and continue AC 25-190 to the November 21st, 2025 SPAC meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Akery?
Yes.
Mr. Whitlock?
Yes.
And Mr. Bender?
Yes.
We have 6 yeses.
Very good. So that item AC 25-190 will be continued to November 21st. That leaves us a motion for Haya Park 1B.
Madam Chair, I would move that the commission leave the public hearing and the public record open and continue AC 25-191 to the November 21st, 2025 SPAC meeting.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Can we, well, if there isn't any discussion on this, can we have roll call?
Yes, Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Akery?
Yes.
Mr. Whitlock?
Yes.
And Mr. Bender?
Yes.
6 yeses again.
Thank you. So that passes as well. So that takes us to the exception. Mr. Whitlock, do you want to do the honors on this one as well?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move that the commission leave the public hearing and public record open on this matter and continue E 25-324 to the November 21, 2025 SPAC meeting.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on this item? Okay, we'll have roll call for this as well.
Mr. Bender?
Yes.
Ms. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Whitlock?
Yes.
And Mr. Akery?
Yes.
We have 6 yeses.
Very good. So that will continue to November 21st, 2025 as well. Thank you, everyone, for being here and being patient through this process. And we will see you all on the 21st, if you so choose to join us. All right, that brings us to item 60, which is written communications, and there are none. Item 70 is new business, and there are none. Item 80 is report from the planning department.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon again, Commissioners. I'm Kelly Aiken with your Planning Department. I think we handed out invitations today for the Boards and Commission luncheon that happens January 22nd at noon out at the Rogex, so that should be pretty neat. Upcoming business, we obviously have business for your next meeting, November 21st. This is the only item on that agenda. And then I don't know that we're going to have anything on December 5th yet. We'll keep you posted on December the 5th. And really, that's about all I have for you. Thank you very much for coming to today's long meeting. We haven't had one this long for a while, so thank you. for entertaining staff in this pretty complex. It was a really complex
Yes.
process, so thank you.
Thank you.
Last long meeting was your first one, Thomas.
Item 100 is propositions and pardon me. Item 90 is messages and papers from the chair. I have nothing. Item 100 is propositions and remarks from the commission. Anyone? Mr. Whitlock?
Madam Chair, just wanted to quickly voice my support for Mr. Thomas's observations that there was a lot of information that came in very late on this, and I think it is appropriate that we have an opportunity to figure things out. And I hope staff and the applicant also will be able to, put their heads together and maybe come up with some solutions to what are obviously very difficult problems. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm curious if, since the public is still open, if I would assume we're going to get more emails and letters. So is there going to be a deadline, or are we going to walk in and see another pile?
So if I might, Madam Chair, so the hearing is open, so people have the opportunity to speak and participate until the gavel falls. So typically what we'll do is, I think the public hearing notice says that we'll take emails until 10 o'clock on the hearing day so that we have the opportunity to get them to you, even if it's super brief. But really, I mean, it's no different than oral testimony, except you have to have the time to take the time to read it. We do our best at the staff level to provide information to you as quickly as it comes in, but it doesn't always come in quickly.
Can we maybe, just a suggestion, get a flood of emails maybe Thursday and whatever comes between Thursday and Friday? That way, I don't want to show up Friday and read like 42 emails. I just think I should be able to divulge them. So can we get like a big swath of them 2 or 3 days in advance and then another final before we come in?
Sure, I think that's kind of what we do. I think we sent out quite a few today because we received quite a few late yesterday and today.
Okay.
So we send them, if they come ahead, we'll kind of send them as we get them. If we're getting a lot, we'll batch them for you.
Yeah.
But we can only send you what we have.
Correct. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Madam
Anything
Chair?
else? Yes.
Sorry, I think one additional thing that might be helpful, particularly with respect to the access options, would be for us to be able to see the modified drawings that were presented in the PowerPoint today. Those were not things that were available in the initial report, and obviously some critical changes suggested by Public Works to option A. Thank you.
Thank you. Last item is adjournment. Thank you, everyone.